There's this experience, maybe you've had it with an older loved one. Let's think about that example we heard, Mrs. M.
And
Someone who was always, so easygoing, loved trying new restaurants, new routes, just went with the flow.
very adaptable.
Exactly. And now, well, now it feels like almost every suggestion, even a gentle offer of help or, just a tiny change in the usual routine,
It hits a wall.
a total wall, just this firm, sometimes stress-sounding no.
Yeah.
No. Full stop.
No, we can't go to that grocery store. No, not going out today.
Yeah.
No, dinner has to be at exactly 6 p.m., not 6:15.
It's really common and frustrating for everyone.
It is. And I think for a lot of us facing this, the first reaction, this sort of gut reaction, is to just label it. Call it stubbornness.
Or maybe moodiness or even defiance.
Yeah, exactly.
Just-
Defiance. And that label stubbornness, while it feels right in the moment, it actually kind of stops us. It prevents us from finding ways to actually help.
Because we're reacting to the wrong thing.
Precisely. So our mission today really is to get past that judgment. We want to dig into the cognitive stuff behind it, what science calls behavioral rigidity.
Okay, behavioral rigidity. So we're going to look at the science of that and why it happens.
Right. We'll use some ideas from behavioral science to see how these habits get locked in.
And then the really important part, give you, our listeners, some actual strategies, like 5 specific things you can try based on this science.
Things that can hopefully make things a bit easier, encourage a bit more flexibility for everyone.
Yeah. All right, let's dive in. First things first, defining this. Behavioral rigidity, how is that really different from just being stubborn? Because honestly, when you're in the middle of it, it feels exactly like defiance.
It absolutely looks the same from the outside, yeah.
Yeah.
The outcome resistance is identical.
Okay.
But the engine driving it, totally different. Stubbornness, we usually think of that as, well, a choice, right?
Yeah.
Part of someone's personality, maybe. They want their way.
Mm.
Willful, exactly. Rigidity, though, the way our sources talk about it, it's more about a declining ability. The brain's finding it harder to switch gears.
Switch gears, like mentally.
Mentally, or even in actions. It's about cognitive flexibility. That's a key part of what we call executive function.
Ah, executive function. That's like the brain's management system. Planning, decision-making.
Exactly. Think of it like air traffic control for your brain. It manages all the incoming stuff,
Yeah.
helps you prioritize, lets you shift smoothly between different thoughts or tasks.
Okay.
Now imagine that air traffic control system is under a lot of stress, maybe because of age, maybe other cognitive changes.
Right.
Suddenly, any new signal coming in, a suggestion for a change, a new plan, it doesn't just feel like information. It feels like chaos, overwhelming.
So the brain kind of goes into defense mode. It's not about being open anymore. It's about survival, conserving energy.
That's a great way to put it.
Right.
Adapting to something new takes a lot of mental energy. And if that energy is already low,
It's too costly.
it's too costly. So rigidity, it becomes the brain shortcut, a way to feel safe.
How so?
Well, if I stick to exactly what I know, the same routine, the same way of doing things, I don't have to use that precious energy figuring out risks or novelty or worrying I might mess up.
Ah, I see. So sticking to the routine, even if it looks inefficient to us on the outside.
Is actually the most efficient path for that person's brain right now, given its current resources. It's a coping mechanism, really, a defense.
Okay. That reframing is huge, and we definitely see this in day-to-day life. So for someone listening, trying to figure out if this is what's happening, what are the concrete signs, the things that shout loss of flexibility rather than just bad mood?
Well, beyond just saying no a lot, look for a couple of key things. One is insisting on routines that are, well, clearly not working very well anymore.
Like doing something the long, hard way, even when there's an easier option.
Exactly. Maybe they spend ages doing a task the old way, fighting it, when a new tool or a simple suggestion could fix it in minutes. That resistance, it's often not about wanting to do it the hard way. It's the mental effort of learning the new way that's the real barrier.
Got it. What else?
Also, look for a real resistance to help or advice, even when it's clearly needed. And tied to that, notice the emotional reaction when a routine does get disrupted.
Ah, the frustration level.
Yes. If a small change leads to a really intense emotional outburst, frustration, anxiety, anger, that's a big signal. It suggests the cognitive load just went way over capacity.
That makes so much sense. It's a signal, not just bad behavior.
Okay.
So the brain's seeking safety, seeking predictability. But why does the behavior itself, the actual saying no, get so strong, so ingrained? How does it become this automatic habit?
Yeah, good question. To understand that, how it gets reinforced, we can borrow from applied behavior analysis.
AB, yeah.
EPA. I've heard of that, often with kids, but how does it apply here? Well, the core principle is universal. Behavior is shaped by what happens right after it, the consequences. ABA helps us stop trying to guess the internal feeling that assumed stubbornness and instead map out what's actually happening in the environment.
So analyze the function of the behavior. What does saying no do for the person?
Exactly. We need to map the pattern. What triggers the resistance? That's the antecedent. What's the actual behavior? And crucially, what's the consequence? What's the payoff?
Okay, let's map a typical scenario. What would be the trigger, the antecedent?
It could be something simple. A caregiver saying, okay, time for your meds, and here's the new pill organizer we talked about.
Right.
That's the trigger. Unfamiliar, a change.
Right. And the behavior.
The immediate no, or maybe turning away, avoiding it, maybe insisting on fumbling with the old bottles, even if they're confusing.
Okay, and the payoff. The consequence that makes the no stronger next time.
This is the key insight from the sources. When they say no, what usually happens, often the request stops, right? Or the caregiver backs off for a moment, maybe tries a different approach later.
Sure, you don't want to force it.
Right. But the reward isn't just that the caregiver backed off. It's internal. Saying no brings instant relief from the stress of that change. It gives them back a sense of control over something personal, like their medication, and it helps them avoid the potential frustration or perceived failure of trying to figure out that new organizer.
Wow. Okay, so it's not that we are rewarding the no by giving in, necessarily. It's that their brain gets an immediate reward. Relief, control, avoidance.
Precisely. The environment, maybe unintentionally, teaches the brain. Resisting is the quickest way to feel less stressed and more in control.
And so the habit just gets stronger and stronger.
It does, and it gets stronger kind of automatically, separate from whether the person actually wants to be difficult or not. It's just become a really efficient coping strategy for a brain that's feeling overloaded.
Which totally changes how we should respond. We need to stop reacting to what looks like a personality issue.
And start responding to the signal that says, I'm overwhelmed right now.
Right. Let's talk more about those signals then. What specific things beyond the inefficient routines we mentioned should people be looking for? The red flags in daily life.
Absolutely, and the research really backs this up. These behaviors aren't random quirks. They point to that high cognitive load. A big one is getting really rigid around things like rituals and timing. Meals are a classic example.
Like has to be the exact same food.
Yeah, or the same brand, cooked the same way, served at the exact same minute every single day.
And if you say, try to introduce a different vegetable or serve dinner 10 minutes late.
The reaction can be huge, right? Way out of proportion to the actual change. It might not even be about liking the food. It's about the disruption. The break in the predictable pattern feels deeply unsettling.
That disproportionate emotional reaction again, that's a key sign.
It really is. It highlights that link we talked about. Cognitive rigidity often increases as executive function declines. These aren't character flaws. They're symptoms of the brain struggling to manage. They just crave the known, stable pattern.
What about things related to getting out or self-care?
That's another critical area. Refusing help with things like bathing or dressing, even when it's becoming difficult or unsafe, or avoiding activities they used to love, like going out for coffee or seeing friends.
And the reason isn't that they're suddenly antisocial.
Often, no. It's that the outing represents too many unknowns, too many variables to process. Will the parking be difficult? Will it be crowded? What if the usual table isn't free? Where are the restrooms?
Wow. Yeah, all those little things require mental energy.
Exactly. The cognitive effort to navigate all that potential uncertainty is just too high. So the safest, lowest effort response.
No.
No. Stay home where it's predictable.
Okay. This is incredibly helpful for understanding. Now let's shift to what we can do. This is where it gets really practical. If behavior is shaped by consequences, like you said with ABA, how do we actually use that? How do we tweak the environment so that flexibility, not rigidity, becomes the easier, more rewarding path?
That's the goal. We need to design things so that trying something new or accepting a small change feels less threatening and more successful. The sources lay out 5 really solid strategies for caregivers, for family members.
All right, strategy number 1. I'm guessing it involves slowing things down.
You guessed it. Strategy 1. Introduce change slowly. Big, sudden shifts are almost always going to trigger resistance. Think small, predictable steps instead.
Like, give me an example.
Okay, say you need to replace their favorite old, worn-out armchair. Don't just swap it out one day.
Right, that would be jarring.
Very. Instead, bring the new chair into the room first. Let it just sit there for a few days, maybe a week. Put a familiar blanket on it. Let them get used to seeing it. Approach it on their own terms. Small steps, micro adjustments, not massive overhauls.
Makes sense. Gradual exposure. What's strategy two?
Strategy 2 is offering limited choices. This is huge for preserving that sense of control we talked about. Asking an open-ended question like, so what do you want to do today, can be incredibly overwhelming.
Too many options.
Yeah.
Requires too much planning energy.
Exactly. It demands a lot of executive function. So instead of wide-open choices,
You give structured options.
yes, offer control, but within clear boundaries. Not what do you want for dinner, but would you prefer the chicken or the pasta tonight?
Ah, okay. Or maybe,
Or maybe we need to do this task. We could do it now or maybe in about 15 minutes, which sounds better to you. You're still giving them agency, the feeling of control, but you're limiting the options to make the decision manageable. Less cognitive drain.
I like that. It shifts the brain from, oh no, infinite possibilities to, okay, I can choose between A or B, much less threatening. What's number three?
Strategy 3. Pair change with enjoyment. This is about linking something new or potentially stressful with something they genuinely like. You schedule the hard part so it's immediately followed by a reward.
Okay, like what?
Well, say you need them to try using a new walker, just
Yeah.
for a few minutes to start. Plan it so that right after those 5 minutes with the walker, something good happens immediately. Like you immediately put on their favorite music, or make them a cup of tea just the way they like it, or sit down to watch a favorite show together. The brain starts to connect the new thing of the walker not just with effort, but with the positive feeling that comes right after.
Ah, so the new behavior becomes the ticket to the reward. Less about the stress, more about getting to the good part.
Exactly. And the source is also brought up using external things, tools, to help take the pressure off the personal interaction.
Right, taking the caregiver out of the nagging role.
Precisely.
Mhm.
Which brings us to strategy 4. Use visual cues and checklists. Think simple charts, maybe color-coded steps for a morning routine stuck on the mirror, clear reminder notes on the fridge.
Things the environment provides.
Yes, these act like external task masters. They provide structure and prompts, reducing anxiety about what comes next, but without the person feeling like you are constantly directing or correcting them.
That makes sense. Technology could play a role here too, right? Like reminders on a phone or tablet.
Absolutely. Smart reminders, maybe a tablet app with step-by-step visual guides for a task. These can be fantastic. They support the desired behavior without involving that potentially fraught interpersonal dynamic. It depersonalizes the prompt.
So it's not me telling you to do it, it's just the schedule says it's time.
Mhm.
Or the checklist shows the next step. Removes that potential for conflict.
Exactly. And that leads right into the final strategy, which kind of pulls it all together.
Hmm.
Strategy 5, reinforce flexibility. We have to actively notice and reward adaptation when it happens.
So catch them being flexible.
Yes. And be specific. If Mrs. M, in our example, actually tries that new dish or agrees to let you help with something she usually resists, don't just let it pass. Give genuine, immediate praise.
Like what would you say?
Something like, hey, that was something new today and you tried it. That really helped us move forward. Great job handling that change. Make it specific. This targeted reinforcement helps strengthen that flexible pathway in the brain. It makes trying more likely next time.
Okay, so let's try to wrap this up. If we synthesize all this, the main takeaway seems to be, when an older adult, like Mrs. M, keeps saying no, it's probably not personal. It's not aimed at you.
Right. It's communication. It's signaling that their system is overloaded, that the change you're suggesting feels unsafe or unpredictable or just too much effort given their current cognitive resources.
And by understanding that ABA cycle, the trigger, behavior, consequence, and using these strategies, we can shift things.
We stop battling what looks like stubbornness and we start, well, redesigning the environment a bit, making small changes easier, safer, more rewarding.
And the research suggests this works. Flexibility isn't just gone forever.
No, not at all. It's a behavior. And like other behaviors, it can be encouraged, taught, reinforced, even later in life. It's about providing structure, predictable rewards, and always respecting that fundamental need for a sense of control.
So thinking about that core idea that behavior is shaped by consequences, it leaves us with a final thought, maybe a challenge for you listening.
Yeah, think about one situation right now. One recurring point of friction, one persistent no you encounter.
Okay.
Now, based on what we've discussed,
Mm.
what's one tiny manageable change you could introduce? Or one small instance of successful adaptation, however brief, that you could consciously reinforce today?
Just one small thing.
Just one small thing. How could you start shifting that pattern even just a little towards more confidence, less stress, maybe a bit more autonomy? It's about starting small And remember, you're working with the brain's patterns, not against the person.